with Mr. Duhart.
Oh, hello. Hi, kids. It's Mr. Duhart here. I'm going to actually show you guys how to do a piece of artwork that I used to do with kids back in the olden days when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was an art teacher. And I used to love this project. I call it the half portrait. You may have seen half portraits done before, but I'm going to show you step by step how to do a half portrait. And all you'll need is a basic pencil. If you got a set of art pencils and like graphite or super dark and super light ranging pencils, that's great. But if you don't, and all you've got is a regular number 2 pencil or any old kind of pencil, that'll do fine. Okay, you're also going to need a photograph of a face. You can download something off of the internet and print it out. It needs to be large enough for you to have a good idea of the features of the face. You can get it from a magazine. Anything will do. Here's an example of what I have here. This is the face I'm going to be getting. It's a Maybelline ad. Most of the times when you find makeup ads, they've got the perfect face right there for you. But something large is what you want like this. And we're going to be cutting this in half. So you're also going to need a pair of scissors. You're also going to need a little bit of glue. It can be a glue stick. I've got tacky glue here. And you're going to need a piece of tape. It can be any kind of tape. It can be masking tape like the painter's tape I have here. Or it can be just, clear tape. So any tape will do. Once you've gathered those things, if you'd like to go along with me and do this, you can, or you can just watch me do it and then just watch it again, and this time have all your stuff. All right, you guys ready to start? First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your picture and you're gonna cut it in half. Now, this cut does not need to be perfectly straight. You don't need to get a ruler and make a perfect line. If the person's face is off to the side a little bit, like my face is now, your line should go through the eyes, down the nose, like you're splitting the person's face in half. Not like you're dividing the paper directly in half. So you don't want to fold it and then make a perfect cut because you might miss the nose. She just happens to be looking straight ahead. So all I have to do is cut right down the middle of her face so it works out easy for me. And I'm going to do that. Right down the middle of the face like so. So I've got half her face here and half her face here. Now, one of these halves I'm going to actually draw. The other half will actually be glued onto the paper. So you just have to decide which half you want to see already done and which half you think you want to draw. Up to you, doesn't matter. All right, so I'm going to do that. Glue the half that I don't want to draw onto the paper, giving myself enough room on the other side to do it. Couple of helpful hints, especially if you're using a pourable glue. Don't use too much glue because if you put it down and it oozes out, it's going to get on the paper and that'll affect the texture of your drawing. It'll be bumpier and darker where the glue is. So make sure you use as little as possible. Get close to the edge, but don't use too much. And maybe even smear it with your finger so that you don't get that ooze out that happens sometimes when you put it down. All right, I'm gonna do that and then we're gonna get started. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken my half of the picture. Remember, you're gonna need both halves, so don't throw away your other half. But I've taken one of the halves, and this is the half I'm not going to be drawing, and I've glued it onto a white piece of paper. And this is no special paper, it's just a slightly longer piece of printer paper, but any paper will do. And I've glued it down and I've given myself enough room on this side to be able to draw the other half of the face. Now, with the piece that I'm going to be drawing, the first thing I do is reconstruct the whole face by taping, and there's that tape, taping it right back in place. So line it up really perfectly so that it's just right and tape it down. I love the fact that I'm using what's called painter's tape. This is the kind of tape that is real easy to pull off. because at some point I'm going to be done with this half as far as having it here in this spot, and I want to be able to pull it off without ripping my original paper. So what I'm doing is I'm going to find myself a few registration points. When you're doing a face, the way that people usually mess up is they wind up with the eye too high or too low, or they've got an eye that goes on for days in this direction and making it too big, or it starts way over here, or it's too close. That's the first mistake. Or they make a nose that goes way over here instead of right where it's supposed to be, or the mouth extends out too far, or the side of the face is like a giant bubble. So if you give yourself a few key spots so you know where to begin and where to stop, it'll make it easier for you to do the drawing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold my pencil right over the corner where the eye begins. Without moving my hand, I'm gonna move the paper, make a dot. That dot will show me, not sure if you guys can see it, but that little dot will show me where to begin the eye, and then I'll go to the other corner right here and move, make a dot. Don't make these dots too dark. If you make them too dark, when you're all done and ready to actually do the picture, you've got what looks like holes in the person's face. So make them as lightly as you can see them and use them to assist you. Now, side of the face I'm gonna do. Right about here is where the side of the face goes. Move it, make a line. I'll come a little further, right about here. Move it, make a line. Come down here, get my pencil going. I'm not actually drawing, I'm just holding it over where the line is. Move it, make the line. Come down here, do the same thing. I'm just holding it above it. I move it, make the line. Now, corner of the mouth, this right here is really all you need, because the top of this line here, the bottom of the top lip, this line here, you'll know where to start them because you'll see this half of the face. It's really where do they all converge and stop, and that's that corner right here. So right here, I'm gonna hold my pencil there, make a dot, so I know where the corner of the mouth is going to be. Double check that, yeah, that's right. What about the edge of the nose here? Right about here. And while we're on the nose, another helpful hint. You see this part right here? On this side of the face, there's a shadow. You do not want to draw a line where you really want a shadow. Shadow is more like a blurred amount of pencil coverage. You do not want to make a hard line where you really should have had a shadow. If something's got an immediate stop, like the edge of the mouth or the edge of an eye, you can represent that with a line. But if something has like a soft, gradual stop, like the shadow on this face, don't stop it with a hard line, because then it'll make the face look too harsh. I think I got enough lines to get myself a good start. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna move it over so I can continue to see it. You still need that because you wanna look at this as you're drawing it. And then I'm gonna use these registration marks to get me started. So I'm gonna start here. I know the eye begins here. And I'm gonna look at that eye over there, and I'm gonna go up, and then I'm gonna go down right between these. That's the top of the eye. And then I'm gonna look at this. This seems to go up and then down and then up right like that. So I'll go up and then down and then like that. That's the beginning of that eye. Okay? Now, the part of the eye that's colored either brown or green or blue, that's called the iris. Now in this one, it's a circle, and you can see that part of that circle is cut off by the top of her eyelid, and then the bottom is cut off just a tiny bit at the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw lightly, super lightly, a circle that does that. It's important that you get this about the same size. So if you want to do registration marks like I did with the other thing to assist you, you can. Now, I'll start with that. Next, I'm going to put in the pupil. That's that black part on the inside of the eye, right there. Now, if you look at her eye, you see shiny spots. I'm going to draw those shiny spots where I see them. There's one there and there's one kind of at the bottom of the eye. I hope you guys can see that. And then I'm going to shade in the top portion of the eye just a little bit, making sure that the pupil is the darkest part. So I'm going to come down a little dark on the pupil, shade in a little lighter for the rest of the eye. And then I'm going to make that outer edge a little darker. How's that look? Coming out pretty good? Can you guys see it? Hope you can see it. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start tackling the nose. Again, this part of the nose is a line, like that. And then right where the nostril is, that's just a little line that starts here, comes up, and then in this case it stops, like that. Don't make it too big. Less is more when it comes to the nose. Don't overdo it. This one has a little curved line here, little bit of a nostril there. They don't touch each other. And then boom, automatically you start to see a nose. But she also has some shadow here. So I'm gonna take the side of my pencil tip and I'm gonna add a little bit of shading there. Take it up above the eye, as you can see it does in the actual picture. And then I'm gonna take my finger and I'm gonna smudge it so that it's like I'm trying to wipe it off. And that little bit shows me right where the shadow is gonna go. Now I might make that a little darker later on. Not even sure if you guys can see that. I might make that a little darker, but for now, I can already tell where that nose is gonna stop. Now, next the mouth, I'm gonna start with the top part of this lip. The top line, you can see where it begins here, goes up a little bit, then I'm gonna come down to that dot, like that. The bottom part of the top lip sort of goes straight across, but it ends at the same dot, like that. Then I'm gonna start at the top of the bottom lip, and I'm gonna come across, and know where I'm ending, it's gonna end right at that same dot, but try to mirror what you see in the picture. It's really important when you're doing any kind of drawing that you keep looking at what it is you're trying to draw. Then I'm gonna start at the bottom of the bottom lip. I'm gonna come across, and then it starts coming up to that same dot. It never quite makes it though. It just sort of trails off right there. It's like it's going there, but it doesn't quite get there. Huh? Looking pretty good so far, huh? All right. Now, she needs, if you look at her eye, she's got this line that goes, it's a crease, it goes above the eye. I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna go above the eye, and it kind of disappears right at the top of the arc. Right there, like that. Now, is that the same in every eye? It's not the same in every eye, it's not the same in every person. Depending upon the picture that you have, you're gonna have to look for these little details. So just let the picture that you're using guide you. Maybe it's more shadow, maybe it's less shadow, maybe you can see more of one eye than the other eye, depends on whether the person's looking straight ahead. And she's got a little bit of eyelashes. Do not go eyelash crazy. I'm saying that because over the years when I've done this, One of the things that I see people do is they say, oh, the person has eyelashes, and they immediately put on what looks like giant fingers coming out of the person's eye. Don't do that. Just put a tiny bit. You can always add more, but do what you see, not what your head says you should do. Okay? Now, as far as the edge of the face, I'm going to come down and start connecting some of these registration lines. But I'm still going to keep looking at the picture as I do it. I know where I'm headed because it's got to connect up to the chin on the other side. How's that looking? Pretty good, huh? All right. Next, the neck. You can see that it comes in a little bit, and right about maybe where the mouth, if you come across where the mouth is, right where the mouth lines up, that's about where the neck is. So right about here, I'm going to start a line for the neck, and I'm going to bring it down. If you're not sure, do it lightly first, because if you ever have to erase anything, it's a lot easier to erase something that you tried out lightly than something that you scratch on real dark. Okay? Looking pretty good. Now, hairline. And she's got the tiniest bit of ear showing here too. So I'll do a tiniest bit of ear. And then I'll show myself about where the hair goes. Again, you want to start this dark. And here's a helpful hint when it comes to hair. Don't shade in hair like you're shading in a section in a coloring book. Always draw in the hair in the direction that the hair is going. So if the person's hair is coming down, draw it in lines that are coming down. Don't go side to side if the hair is going actually in that direction, because each one of your strokes with your pencil will represent hair. And it makes it look more realistic if you've got that. It's not going to look great at first because it's going to look sparse. Don't leave a gap between what's supposed to be hair and the neck if there isn't one. It's black all the way up to the side of her face. So I'm going to fill this in with lines that represent her hair. Like that. It's getting there. She's still a little bald. Now, something's missing. Have you noticed? Have you noticed what I haven't gotten to? And I'm still not done with her hair yet. But I don't have an eyebrow on her. Gonna get to it. I could hear you thinking that. Mr. Duhart, there's no eyebrow on her face. I know. Now, the eyebrow is going to start right about where that shadow ended. And look how close it comes to her eye. You want to mirror what you see on the other side. Not done with her hair yet either. Otherwise, she'd have like the biggest hairline hole right there. So that's not done yet either. All right. And again, just like with the hair, you want to go in the direction that the individual hairs in her eyebrow would be going. So it looks more realistically like hair. Not too bad. And she's gonna get some more hair, and I like to connect this line up to here. Probably the hair here starts to go in the other direction. So I'll do that. Now some of this I'm kind of guessing because if you can see the picture ends here. But you can see how high it's going on this. And I'm just guessing that that would go around like that. Looking pretty good. Now, she's got shadow on the side of her face here. This sort of shows her chin, her cheekbones right here. So I'm gonna take the side of my pencil. Never draw shadow with the tip of your pencil. If you do, it'll make harsh lines. Use the side of it. So turn your pencil towards the side. Lightly add on shadow where you see shadow. And then you can use your fingertip or a paper towel and smudge. A little bit more right there. It's like you're adding makeup to her. Look, you're a makeup artist. Don't go crazy with the shadow. Now, how's that look? Pretty good. Now her shoulder actually, and her shirt actually go about down here, like that. That's the end of her shoulder there. That I can represent just with some light lines. I'll make a harsher. I like to start things lightly and then come down darker once I'm sure that it's right. That way, if you gotta make a correction, you don't have to dig through the paper to try to get it erased. And always get darker, but it's real hard to lighten it up once you've gotten it already on there. Now, notice she's got a shadow underneath her chin. I'm gonna use the side of my tip again. And I'm gonna put a lot of shadow here. Remember, it's gonna lighten up a bit once you smudge it. She's got a little bit of a line on her neck there. So I'm gonna smudge that. And if you don't wanna wind up with pencil all over your fingers, you could do the smudging with a paper towel. Now, if you lose that line that you had with her chin when you're smudging, just redraw it in again. Looking pretty good. And I could add more and more detail onto this and take my time and make things darker. And I think that I will. But for now, I think you guys got a great start. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I hope you enjoyed doing your own half portraits. It's really not that hard to do, and yours doesn't have to be as good as mine. But the more you practice, the better you're gonna get. Well, I'm just about done with my side of my half portrait. Here's what it looks like. As you can see, I added a little bit more shading and shadow. Try to get away from the shine there. But you can see the level of detail that I've added to her. I think it looks pretty good. Now, if you really want to make this look nice and you happen to have a large piece of black paper, if you take your picture and you trim right up to a nice smaller square here and here, you may have to re-glue the this side if you cut inside of where you've glued it. But if you make it smaller so it's not so much blank sheet all the way around it, you're going to wind up with a nicer looking framed picture. Or you could take it and put the whole thing inside of a frame by cutting it down to size so that just your half and the actual picture half is on. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sign it because I always sign my work. So right down here, I'll put Chris Duhart. Make sure you sign the side you created because you didn't take the picture, right? And then I'll put 2020 so I know what year I did it. All right? Once you're done, if you feel like you did a really good job, why don't you show it to me? Guys can take a photograph of your picture, and then you can email it to me. That's Chris Duhart at browardschools.com, and I can get a chance to see what you did. I can't wait to see them. I'm going to continue working on this, and maybe I'll frame it or something. I don't know. We come back to school, I'll show you guys how it came out. I want to see yours, so send it to me, okay? All right. Bye.